the fact is, Fort McMurray looks like Hiroshima. Fort McMurray is a wasteland. The Indians up there and the native peoples are dying. The fuels all over, the fumes everywhere. You can smell it when you get to town. The closest place to Fort McMurray that is doing the tar sands work is 25 or 30 miles out of town, and you can taste it when you get to Fort McMurray. People are sick. People are dying of cancer because of this.
Well, there you have it. Dr. Neil Young making a massive diagnosis that Fort McMurray is like Hiroshima. He literally compared it to the place that was nuked, tens of thousands killed in the Second World War. That's what he thinks of Fort McMurray. Well, what does Fort McMurray think of Neil Young? Listen, they like his music, but what do they think of his politics? Joining us now via Skype from Fort McMurray is Tyler King. He's the program director at Rock 97.9. Welcome to the show, Tyler. Appreciate you being here.
Thank you, Ezra. Great to be joining you from the most wonderful wasteland in the world.
Well, you don't look like you're dying, but maybe you're just keeping it together. But listen, I'm joking around. I've been to Fort McMurray many times. I got to say, it's one of the most beautiful places in the world. If you like the outdoors, if you like hiking or hunting or skiing, or it's just gorgeous up there. Tell me what it's really like to normal people who live there, not just celebrity who come in and hit and run like Neil Young.
I'll tell you, there are really two sides to it. There's the natural beauty of Fort McMurray, which you mentioned there, a place surrounded by boreal forest, a place that's undergoing an incredible redevelopment of its downtown, trying to really become a modern city. Remember, we're talking about a place that's not in the middle of nowhere anymore. We're talking about a place that's going to have more than 100,000 people, already does by some counts. And that's just the physical beauty of it. But the other part of it that's great about Fort McMurray is the community. And that's really where our reaction to Neil Young's comments came from. Because when you just say something as general as Fort McMurray is a wasteland, you're grouping a heck of a lot of subjects and a heck of a lot of people into one category and tarring them with the same brush. And you know it, Ezra, a lot of people who've been to Fort McMurray know it. It's a very unique community. People have come from all over Canada, all over the world to better themselves, to make a living for themselves and for their families, and to raise families. We're leading pretty well the entire country in birth rate per capita up here. And to be told that some place like that is a wasteland, to a lot of people, it's been one of the greatest opportunities, one of the greatest sources for opportunity that they've had in their lives.
You well said. I tell you, you're a great booster for your city. One statistic I like to tell people is that according to the United Way, Fort McMurray is the most generous city in Canada. Stop and think about that for a second. The most generous, the most giving to others is Fort McMurray. I think that's amazing. It makes me mad when he said this. Now, tell me what you guys did in response. You decided to ban all Neil Young songs for a day. Obviously, just a symbolic thing. What was the reaction from your listening public?
We've had a lot of support, to be quite honest with you. And then the reason we did it, we're not thinking that at a radio station we're going to cut into the annual income of Neil Young based on a few cents he gets from the royalties up here or anything like that. Our thought was, because people, yes, they were angry about the comments, but they weren't so much surprised because he's not the first celebrity to talk like this. He's definitely not going to be the last. So we thought to ourselves, what's a way we can push back at least a little bit, sort of demonstrate, you know what, Fort McMurray, we hear this kind of crap, quite honestly, said about us all the time. We hear these lies spread about us all the time. What's a way we can maybe push back a little bit? And we said, all right, we'll take Neil Young off the air for a day and we'll declare it No Neil Day. If he doesn't like us, well, we don't like him all that much. We got so much great support from the community that we decided we'd keep it going for a little while, and the support really hasn't died down as the attention has gotten broader and broader.
Well, you know, I saw you guys had a poll which you asked your viewers, should the No Neil Day be permanent? Now, some folks, about a third, said yes. I like the folks who said, who cares, or who's Neil Young? Now, about 45% so, no, keep playing him. And I got to say, that's probably the right answer because, you know, Tyler, if every single Hollywood starlet or airhead or pothead, like Neil Young said, if we were to take them seriously as political leaders, well, heck, half of the movies and songs we listen to, we couldn't because, I mean, Hollywood isn't known for its deep scholarship or its scientific command of facts. I think your listeners who say, yeah, let him back on the airways, I think they're right because, I mean, we shouldn't take him too seriously. He's just an aging rock star who thought he'd mouth off. And look, he won. He got some publicity that Neil Young really hasn't been able to earn through his music in a while.
Well, I agree with you totally. Here's the thing. It's, again, not a situation where we think we're making some bold, historic political statement or anything like that. We're having a little bit of fun with it. We're trying to, at the very least, and I think by doing things like this, you're helping shine the spotlight on how stupid and uninformed his comments really were. Our biggest hope was that maybe people would take an extra critical eye to what Neil Young said and think, well, hang on, if a radio station up in Fort McMurray is doing something as crazy as this, I mean, we're a rock station, for Pete's sake, we played Neil Young on a regular basis, what would actually push them to do something like that? And it's because not that he criticized the oil sands. That's what's been misreported so much. Nobody is banning Neil Young for criticizing the oil sands. Everybody has the right to do that. And up here, we're great champions of free speech. As a radio station, we ought to be that. The problem is spreading misinformation and misinforming people. We think you have a right, no matter how high your pedestal is that you're talking off of, to inform people correctly and operate in real facts. So we've said if Neil Young would like to come on our station and clarify his comments, not asking for an apology or anything like that, but just clarify. Were you talking about Fort McMurray? Did you actually mean Fort McMurray? Do you realize the sort of things that you left out in the statements? We would embrace that opportunity, and we put him back on the air right away. My guess is we will be spinning Neil Young tunes once again, but our point is we would like people who saw the original story that Neil Young says Fort McMurray is a wasteland and thought, yeah, that backs up my preconceived notion of a place I've never been to and never actually done any research about, to maybe take a second look and realize Fort McMurray is so much more than what a bunch of vapid celebrities think it is.
You're right. I tell you, one day maybe Neil Young will go to Saudi Arabia or Nigeria or Sudan and tell us what a real wasteland is like. Listen, Tyler, thanks for being such a good sport coming on the show. We're going to end this with a satire, a parody song that you guys made using the Lynyrd Skynyrd tune, Sweet Home Alabama. Let's close with that. Great to see you, Tyler.
Thanks, Ezra.